Hey, it's Dr. Carlo Biasucci. In this video, I wanted to talk to you about a very specific question. And this question frequently, when asked of dentists, is sometimes hard to actually answer. And it's one of those questions that if you don't have a very clear, articulated answer that just rolls off your tongue, or even better, that's written down somewhere, then it really will trip up the rest of your practice and honestly your entire existence. So the question is, why does your practice exist beyond just making money? So can you answer that? I mean, can you really articulate why does my practice exist other than for the purpose of making money? And if you really sit down and think about it, you got to get real clear about that, because a lot of people can't really give a good answer. Like, we try to help people, that sort of thing. It's sort of wishy-washy. It's not clear. And, the clearer you are on the answer to that question, what is the purpose of my business, my practice, other than making money, the more successful you will be, and ultimately the more money you'll make. So it's sort of counterintuitive, but getting real clear on the answer to that question is critical. So, I mean, obviously we need to make money, right? But that's not going to be what keeps you going, okay? I mean, trying to make money, it just doesn't work. If you set out with the purpose of, I'm opening a practice, I've got this operation that's existing right now, and the purpose is, and my focus is money, you're not actually going to get there. You're not going to achieve the level of success that you want, and that's going to be because you're not focusing on the right thing. You have to create value in the marketplace. It's value first. Because again, these are, like, if you think about what's actually going to keep you going, there's going to be a point where money is just not going to be it, right? So you have to get clear on what are your reasons why your practice exists. This is the reason why one of the first things we do with anyone we work with is create a why diagram. So most of you guys have seen this, right? We do the why chart, and I'll put a picture of this up on the screen right now so you can see it while I'm talking. And you have to clearly articulate all of the things and all of the reasons and basically your vision for the practice, why you exist other than making money. And then the key is you have to keep articulating this clearly to your team. You can't just say it once. You can't just make the poster, put it up on the wall. You have to clearly articulate this, and you have to keep repeating it. Literally repeat it every time you get together for a meeting. And I do this with my team still. Every time we have a meeting, we talk about the reasons why. We talk about what we did this past month that fed into the reasons why and how we're fulfilling our vision and so on. It's really, really important that we do that, because the team has to understand that it's not that we're providing a procedure and collecting money from the patient. They have to understand that we can do really great things in the community if our practice is financially stable, right? So the more we serve people, the more we earn. And ultimately, as a result of that, the more we give, the more we have an impact in the community, the closer we get to fulfilling our reasons why. Okay, so you have to be really clear about that. If you're just trying to make maximum return, maximum profit, then you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're not focused on creating value. You're not focused on delivering the best possible patient experience and setting yourself apart as a category of one. Instead, you're focused on cost cutting. You're focused on, not spending money, instead of how can I deliver the best experience I possibly can. So if you're not making enough money, or you're not where you want to be, or you're not motivated about your practice and in getting engaged in your business, it's because you're not adding enough value to the market. So business is a vehicle to add value, to help others, and in return it gives us money. So we can't get that the wrong way. Like that, the value and the service comes first, then the money follows. So, I mean, sometimes the reason we start a business or, your practice is because it is money, right? You need the money because, you're typically starting with a lot of debt and you got to get out of that. But, that's not what's going to keep you going. So again, if you try to maximize money, you're going to do things that are going to prevent you from getting money, okay? So I'll elaborate. If you try to maximize your return profit, then you're not going to grow a team. You're going to try to have the least number of people possible, and you're going to have people who are working basically overworked and they can't deliver the greatest level of service, you're not going to invest in yourself, in your practice, in creating systems and developing processes to make it easier to consistently deliver great service. So the other problem with having a monetary goal is once you hit that goal, it's like the dog chasing the car. Once you get it, what do? Right? It's like it's not fulfilling. So you set a bigger goal and you hit that, and then what? See, it's just not fulfilling. So having a monetary goal isn't going to be enough. So effectively, material possessions are just empty distractions. Like, at first when I started my practice, we were making good money, and I was buying shit. I mean, stuff that you didn't need, and a lot of vacations, expensive vacations, and none of that turns out to be fulfilling, right? Especially as you get older and you realize, like, this is stupid. And then you have this stuff, and it ends up becoming a distraction because now you have a thing and you got to use the thing, right? So you buy a boat, as an example. I don't have a boat, but I mean, if you had a boat, you have to go and use the boat, right? Otherwise, why would you buy it, right? You have to get some fulfillment out of it. And so it ends up just becoming a distraction, and honestly, it's counterproductive. So, if your goal is to make your practice the best it can be, and you're competing with yourself, not with anyone else, this is when it starts to get really fun in business. Because now you're looking at, geez, what's the best I can do? What's the biggest, the best version of my practice? What's the best version of myself? And you continue growing yourself. This becomes really interesting, and it becomes motivating. So the energy that you have, and in turn the energy created around you, completely changes. And I've made this observation many times to members, is the energy that I can see as a third-party observer in your team is directly correlated to the success of your practice, to the numbers, literally, like you can just tell. So if you're, engaged, if you're excited and you're, challenging your own potential, you're engaged in the practice, the team becomes engaged and you attract those people to you. So I did that with my practice, and then I started to do the same thing with elite practice. Because again, there's this gap in the market. Like, I've been a student, like all of you guys have, in courses and seminars and such, and we've engaged with, I think, 7 or 8 different consulting groups over the years, and there's just this big gap there where it's like everyone is charging this amount of money, $40,000, $60,000, $100,000 for a program that delivers okay results. And I thought, well, you know what? I know how this game is played now. Like, what if we just went out there and created this incredibly valuable thing, and we didn't charge anywhere near as much, or we charged the same and we delivered like 10x value? And so that's what formed the basis of what we do. So we have at our top level a 60K program, and it's like at least 5 times more valuable than what we charge, because if you went out and tried to replicate it yourself by doing everything on your own, it would probably cost about that much, because I've been there. So again, then what's the speed to get that done, the compounding value of time. So if you put all that together, what we deliver in our programs is just massively more valuable than anything else out there. And so again, think about, listen to the words I'm saying, right? It's massively more valuable. That was the focus. It wasn't about making the most money. It was about how do we create the greatest value, the most valuable thing. And I know that the money will follow, because that's just the basic principle of all this. So the other thing that happens is, when you have a really clear reason why, and you know what you're about, then it's easy to rally people around that vision, right? Like, it's easy to rally people and your team around the vision of building the best practice in your town and fulfilling your Y chart. It's hard to rally people around, I want to make more money so I can go buy a boat. Like, that's not going to get people to say, hey guys, all right, let's work really hard today so that he can make money and go buy shit. That's just not going to work. You can't rally people around that. So you got to get really clear on why your practice exists, other than to make money. Because first of all, you'll be motivated. Then it'll be way easier to hire and motivate a team. And people literally will line up to do business with you, because the energy in your practice changes, the culture changes. You focus on the things that actually matter, like serving the customer, serving the patient. So, when you truly care about something, that's when you make it awesome, right? When it's a labor of love, so to speak, then you really put your heart into it. It's like if you look at a startup company, when everyone's in it for the passion, like the engineers are in it, the development team is in it, the marketing team is in it. Everyone is doing this because they're really passionate about it. The culture is completely different. Everything they do has that little bit of extra finesse because it's got their own personal touch into it. And as things eventually grow, if you watch the progression of bigger companies, as they become more and more corporatized, the personal touches start to disappear and the culture is lost slowly over time. So you want to have that really strong, care in the practice. Like the more engaged you are, the more engaged your team is. So if your service delivery is weak, there's nothing you can do to save that. Like marketing more is not going to save shitty service delivery. If your patient experience isn't where you want it to be, you can't outmarket that. It's just, marketing just magnifies what you've already got, by the way. So if you have a problem in the service delivery and you try to fix it by marketing, all you're gonna do is amplify the problem because now you're throwing more people into a broken process. So again, if you're not where you wanna be, engage more, put yourself in more, care more, get clear on your why, and then build that. If you can build that, then people will get energized about that and follow that. Okay, so one more thing I want to touch on is what makes people sick. Like what's a real determinant of success? Like what makes, for example, if you just watch the biographies of the best athletes in the world, the most successful business people in the world, I mean anyone's at the top of their field, and you start to look for what are the patterns. There's some really clear things that emerge as like these are the traits of people who are the top of their game. For example, there's a biography of Michael Jordan. He's talking about, someone asked him, what does it take to be the best, and like what do you think it takes to for someone to really achieve that pinnacle of success? And his thing was once I fell in love with the game, everything else was easy because now you're not training anymore, you're not competing anymore. None of these things are like work. It's like, I love this, therefore this is fun. What else would I be doing? And so you have to love it. You have to, and it's not to say that you're going to love it the same all the way through and it's always going to be, exactly at the same level. Like you're going to be up and down with dentistry and running your practice. That's just how it is. But, like anything, you made a commitment when you started the practice. You made a commitment when you opened the practice. You were going to reach some goal that you had, and you committed to delivering excellent service and delivering an awesome patient experience and all of these things. And then over time, things wane, right? It's just how it is. So you have to recommit, and you have to keep it interesting. So what do most of us do? And what did I do? I mean, I went out and took every course that there was, and I learned how to do every single procedure there was in dentistry. And I, basically learned everything there was, and then I ran out of things to learn. And many of you guys are in the same place. And there's always something new every year that comes along that you can still learn, and those courses are still fun to take. But, the reason why you do those things at first is to get better. Then it's like, well, I want this new thing, and because it's exciting, it's interesting, and doing the same old, like fillings all day long gets kind of boring. And so you get out, you learn, implants. And you start, everything's about implants now. You start doing implants everywhere, and every patient needs an implant. Then you go out and you do ortho courses, and everybody needs ortho now, and it's just another big focus, and that carries you for another 6 months or a year, and it just keeps changing back and forth. And I'm going to say that's great, and it's awesome to level up your experience, but what happens when you get to the end of the disciplines to learn is like now you're just fine-tuning the last little pieces, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. You certainly want to keep getting better at your craft, but what about the why? What about focusing, again, just to get back to the beginning, focusing on the reasons why and amping up the value and the impact that you have in your community and on your patient base? If you did that, then you would be, it's easier to recommit because you don't lose commitment. Here's why. Your achievements become your motivation, right? So you become motivated by the things you've done, and that becomes a self-reinforcing loop. So the more you're clear on why you exist, why you do what you do, and the more you deliver on that, then the more you'll achieve community impact wise on you, your patients, your team, just like the diagram I showed you earlier, then what happens is you have these achievements, you have these areas of impact that you've achieved in your community. And it's like with us, with our Little Smiles program, we've had 3,000 kids in a small town go through that program. Like, that's not a small thing at this point. That's a big deal, right? That's that's like a generation impacted positively by our practice. And so every time I look at that and I talk about it with my team, it's like everyone gets really excited about that. So that in itself becomes motivating after. So your achievements become your motivation. And so, that, again, it's a self-reinforcing thing. So you end up committing and recommitting at a higher and higher level as you continue this process. So I hope that makes sense. And like, get really clear on what your reasons why are. Then focus on that. Focus on delivering the greatest patient experience that you can. Focus on leveling up your engagement and investing in yourself and your team. And just never lose sight of why your practice exists beyond making money. And if you keep that continuously in the conversation with your team, then they'll focus on it, and that will become sort of baked into your culture, and you're going to get a way higher level of engagement and motivation from your team. So hope you found that useful. I'll see you guys in the next video.